It just popped up like a jack in the box. Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. Let's get into it now. From the 9th to the 19th of February, the Baxter Theatre in Cape Town will play host to a music show called Madness, Songs of Hope and Despair. The sizzling cantata, that is a brainchild of psychiatrist Dr. Sean Baumann, will see an infusion of music, art, lighting and video design used to highlight issues surrounding mental illness and psychotic experiences in our communities. To tell us more, we're joined from our Cape Town studio by music composer Galina Juritz and conductor Chad Hendricks. Guys, thank you very much for joining me on Morning Live. Maybe, Galina, let's start with you. Let's just talk about the significance of this title, Madness, Songs of Hope and Despair.
Well, it's a work that highlights the plight of the mentally ill and people who've undergone psychotic episodes. So the process of making the music was about connecting with what I can imagine the fear and the confusion and the whole variety of emotional responses that I can imagine people would go through in that condition, and finding that within myself.
Galina, before I bring Chad into this conversation, I just wanted to where did you have to go in order to create that music? What was the kind of conversations you needed to have to kind of bring music to life that would reflect that?
Well, I think I took it on a very personal level. At the time I was writing it, I was living in Zurich. I was extremely homesick and very out of sorts, missing South Africa a lot. And I think I was connecting with my own feelings of being misplaced, confused, unable to communicate what was inside me because of a language barrier. So I think always as a composer, you take it down to the personal and you find your own way of relating. And of course, that along with all the research you do and the people you speak to. I did visit Valkenburg and I spent a lot of time speaking to Dr. Sean Berman, so that was my process.
Chad, let's talk about maybe the last thing that Galina talked about, spending and talking a lot of time with Dr. Sean Baumann. What was your experience like spending time with him and kind of getting the sense of why this is such an important issue for him?
I think we spoke quite a bit about it and, his experiences with the patients. But I think what was kind of more profound and more interesting was us as the cast getting together and speaking about our experiences of our understanding, really. Because, we come from different communities, we come from different cultures. And learning about each other's cultures and how we understand or maybe even misunderstand this thing called mental illness. I think that was even more of a learning curve, within us as a group. And I think that collectively helped us understand the work a lot better and, in fact, perform the work a lot better.
Let's talk about the performance, because you play a very, very important role. How do you then approach a subject matter like this? Because obviously a mental illness, especially within the Cape Town community, is a taboo. People don't really talk about it. There are a lot of families that are going through these issues, whether it's a loved one, and they're not very public about it because there's a very negative perception to it. Yeah. How do you then approach this music?
Look, I think, again, I think firstly the most important thing to do is to approach it with respect, because it's a very serious thing that people go through, and often when people don't understand something, they push it aside, they because they don't understand it. So it was important, I think, for us to get to understanding or try to understand a little bit about this process, and I think Dr. Baumann, the way he's written the story, it gives quite a clear understanding of, the process that people like the patient in question, what they go through. And I think Galina even has taken that story and she's just put music to it in a way that is very understanding. So for me, I just felt, it was about kind of bridging the gap between the musicians and the music. So my role, I guess, is to then in some way or another get the musicians to emote what the music and what the story requires.
Galina, what are we going to expect as an audience? What is I know you can't orchestrate a reaction, but What are you hoping the audiences take away from this performances, these series of performances?
I think it's extremely personal, and each audience is completely different. You never quite know how they'll respond. I know we premiered it at the World Psychiatric Conference in Cape Town, and then we went to the Baxter, and even those two performances were completely different things. The overwhelming feedback I got from people is that some people found it very emotional and very intense. I remember there was one lady who actually just left crying in the middle because it moved her in that way. But people's responses will always be different. And just another thing to add is that from a composer's point of view, I also work with the music of Dizu Plakis, who's a phenomenal South African composer. So that's a whole other angle of the music.
Guys, we've run out of time. Thank you very much for joining us. That's music composer Galina Jarrett and conductor Chad Hendricks talking to us about Dr. Sean Baumann's Madness, Songs of Hope and Despair, a show that puts a spotlight on mental illness and psychotic experiences. The show is at the Baxter Theatre and runs from the 9th to the 19th of February. So if you're in Cape Town at the time, please, please, please get those tickets. Bring your family, bring your friends. It's a serious issue. We take an ad break. Don't go anywhere.